all eyes are on whether Pakistan will accept this invitation or not. Ties between both countries have not been particularly great in the last few years. If Bilawal Bhutto does indeed accept the invitation, he will be the first Pakistan foreign minister to visit India in 12 years. Now, India's consistent position has been that any outstanding issues with Pakistan have to be resolved bilaterally and peacefully, not as part of any multilateral arrangement. But at the same time, India has made it clear that it will not compromise on issues relating to national security. So the onus really is on Pakistan to create such a conducive environment that is free of terror and violence. Now, the last time a Pakistani foreign minister was on Indian soil was in 2011 when Hina Rabani Khar visited India as the foreign minister of Pakistan. During that visit, India and Pakistan agreed that terrorism poses a continuing threat to peace and security. Khar and the then Indian Foreign Minister S.M. Krishna had negotiated several measures to improve cross-border trade in Kashmir. They agreed to simplify travel procedures and increase the frequency of services to Jammu and Kashmir. It was also agreed to convene separate meetings of expert groups on nuclear as well as conventional confidence-building measures in Islamabad. But that bonhomie lasted barely a year, and in early 2013, things once again nosedived. But particularly in the last 8 or 9 years, it has been quite the staggering lows, as it were, in the Indo-Pak bilateral. In August of 2015, India had invited then Pakistan National Security Advisor Sartaj Aziz, but his visit was called off at the very last minute after then External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj asked Sartaj Aziz not to meet members of the Hurriyat. The last Indian foreign minister to visit Pakistan was Sushma Swaraj. This was in December of 2015 for the Heart of Asia conference in Islamabad. After that, a slew of Pakistan-sponsored terror attacks, first in Pathankot in 2016, and then in Uri, and then, of course, the big one in Pulwama in 2019, basically cut off all channels of communication. And then the Modi government's decision to abrogate Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir in August of 2019 led to the suspension of trade ties and cross-border services as well. And ties have continued to remain rocky under both former Prime Minister Imran Khan, who took a hard line, and now in Shahbaz Sharif's regime as well, up until the last few weeks. More recently, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has shamed Pakistan publicly on multiple occasions for funding and propagating terror.
The question of justifying what the world regards as unacceptable should not even arise. That certainly applies to state sponsorship of cross-border terrorism. Nor can hosting Osama bin Laden and attacking a neighboring parliament serve as credentials to sermonize before this council. It is the ministers of Pakistan who will tell you how long Pakistan intends to practice terrorism. The world is not stupid, the world is not forgetful, and the world does, increasingly call out countries and organizations and people who indulge in terrorism. So my advice is, please clean up your act. Please try to be a good neighbor. Hillary Clinton was visiting Pakistan, Islamabad. And Hina Rabani Khar was a minister at that time. And I think standing next to her, Hillary Clinton actually said that if you have snakes in your backyard, you can't expect them to bite only your neighbors. Eventually, they will bite the people who keep them in the backyard. But as you know, Pakistan is not great on taking good advice, and you see what's happening there. The world today sees them as the epicenter of terrorism.
But just in the last few weeks alone, there has been a sudden and a pretty dramatic shift in tone from the incumbent Pakistan Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif. Last week, during an interview with Dubai-based Al Arabiya TV, Sharif said that his country has learnt its lesson after 3 wars and wants to solve burning issues like Kashmir with the Indian leadership. Now, keep in mind that Sharif's comments come at a time when Pakistan is battling a crippling economic crisis. There is growing public discontent. There are hours and hours of electricity outages. And of course, to top it all, there are rising wheat and fuel prices. There are also rising instances of terror attacks. The Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, which ended a ceasefire with Pakistan security forces last year, has been repeatedly attacking Pakistani forces in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa as well as in other provinces across the country.
We have learnt our lesson and we want to live in peace with India, provided we are able to resolve our genuine problems. My message to the Indian leadership and Prime Minister Modi is that let's sit down on the table and have serious and sincere talks to resolve our burning issues like Kashmir, where flagrant violation of human rights are taking place day in and day out. Ready to have talks, and we are more than ready.
So you are ready for peace?
Absolutely.
So while Shahbaz Sharif may sound conciliatory, two caveats. One, the fact is that right after that interview, and that clip of course went viral, there was an immediate clarification from the Prime Minister's office in Pakistan saying that Kashmir is the number one issue. Also, his foreign minister, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, has not particularly sounded any overtures of any kind to India. In fact, last year he wrote to the United Nations raking up the Kashmir issue again. He accused India of carrying out demographic changes in Kashmir and said that these measures are in violation of international laws. He also asked the United Nations to urge India to acquit Kashmiri separatist leader Yasin Malik from all charges and ensure his immediate release from prison. And then last month, he made a personal attack against Prime Minister Modi over the 2002 Gujarat riots.
Osama bin Laden is dead, but the butcher of Gujarat lives. And he is the Prime Minister of India. He was banned from entering this country until he became Prime Minister.
And despite his rants, the fact that India has invited Bilawal Bhutto for the SCO summit leaves India with the upper hand, and here's why. The overall objective of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit is cooperation against terrorism. That's why it was founded in the first place in the early 2000s. So as the host this year, India can corner Pakistan for supporting and for harboring terrorists. Pakistan is on a sticky wicket because it desperately needs international support. Its economy is in the doldrums, it is spiraling, it needs all the help it can get. The summit will also bolster India's status as a major pan-Asian player, and it will portray India's goodwill in ensuring peace in the region. So, while this invitation must be seen in the context of a multilateral summit that is likely to take place, the foreign ministers meeting in early May and the summit itself in July, is this marking a change of what has been rather frosty and cold Indo-Pak ties over the last many years?